amigos are we, brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo. Wherever they need us, our destinies lead us, amigos, we're always together.
Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the Three Amigos FPL show. I'm your host, FPL Marple, and alongside me as always is my amigo Mars. Dale unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but our trio is intact as we are joined by the one and only Richard Kenny. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Hi, Don. Thanks, guys, for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you're, of course, a regular from our Fan Few days, but It's great to have you on our Three Amigos show. You're a man who takes an analytical approach to FPL, so this stage of the season is where your bread is buttered. Tell us, how are you sitting now with 3 game weeks to go, and how has the blank game week 35 worked out for you?
Not too badly, game week 35. It's going okay. I played my free hit chip. Before tonight's game, I was on 56 points with 3 to play. Baines, Coleman, Tucson. So hopefully they'll get a few points for me. Now my non-free hit chip team, they've only scored 13 points this week. Tarkowski and Barnes, because I played the wild card, to have plenty of double game week players last week, and then full intention of playing the free hit this week. So it's going okay. That's
good, yeah. I like it because I know a lot of people were giving out about the bench boost last week, but there seems to be more happy people around with the free hits. Lacazette was one that I know a lot of people benefited. Free hitters. I had Aubameyang on my team, and I don't have the luxury of being able to just swap him out for Lacazette. So I know that was a major bonus for those who were free hitting.
Yeah, I benefited from that because I had Aubameyang at the start of the week, and then the news came out of Wenger saying he was going to prepare for the European games. So then I switched to Lacazette and benefited from that.
Marzi, how are you getting on in game week 35?
Yeah, not doing too bad. 70 points at the moment. If Everton hold on to that clean sheet, so I can't complain. My non-free hit team was probably on 9, as I only had 3 players. As Richard, I planned it out to have, I ended up with 15 double game week players, and only the Burnley boys would have been in my team, so I'm happy.
Who did you captain this week?
Jesus.
Oh yes, same as myself. Rich, who'd you go for?
I went with Salah. So both scored 7 points. So.
You stuck to tried and trusted Salah. He can't seem to fail no matter what. I think if he came on for a 10-minute cameo, he'd still succeed as a captain pick. He just, I don't know, he can't seem to stop scoring. But the Jesus had me worrying for a while, but thankfully he pulled through. And as it happened, it actually worked out better because with the penalty miss, he got the assist, whereas Sterling would have gotten another assist had he put it away. Yeah. So, and I don't have Sterling. So in a way, it worked out fairly okay with his penalty miss, as much as you don't want your captain missing a penalty on any game week. I had actually another couple of I had 2 OGs last week and then a penalty miss from my captain this week. So it's been kind of shall we say, an exciting couple of game weeks for myself. But lads, let's move on to Marzi's talking point.
Where's the love, man? Where is the love? Got managers hurting. I hear them crying. Can we practice what we preach? And please stop captain hindsight and comparing each other's points. I mean, come on. Whether you got the free hit or you didn't have the free hit, you had a plan. It worked. Whether I have City players or not for game week 36, let me enjoy my free hit. I'm happy. Other managers are happy. I'm sure there are some managers who don't know what free hit is. And when they look at their team, they're going to go, oh, my God, who are these players? But we don't need to take the mick out of each other. Let's just enjoy it. Right? Just enjoy it. Where's the love?
Where's the love? Were you getting a bit of that? You're seeing a bit of strife from that on Twitter, were you? People complaining about
just people love, people saying, oh, yeah, you've got the free hit. It's all right, but you're not going to have City players. Yeah, well, I'm not that stupid. I know what I planned. I know exactly what I'm doing. And if I want to take a risk with that City players for 1 game week, don't worry about me. I will have 3 City players by 37. I could have had Sane, Walker, and somebody else, and they didn't play in 35 anyway. But I'm not here to judge anybody. People decided to use their free hit in game week 31. If it worked out for them, brilliant. Some people decided to use it in a completely normal game week, like Dale, and it worked out for them. And I think you done as well, right? You guys used it in a different game week. Exactly.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Everybody had a plan. Well, let's say most people had a plan. Some people probably just winged it, and that's absolutely fine. It's just there's no point, I think people are just trying to make themselves better. If we're going to really show off, well, I got double figures in double game week and then got 70 points in the free hit. So really, maybe mine is better than yours, but let's not compare. Come on.
Rich, did you get that? He was like being all, where's the love? Let's everyone just be okay. And then he had to put in a little bite at the end where, let's face it, I got it right.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx it, Don, but I'm from 120k, I'm now 22k. So, my plan is working, and I'm sure there's other people who have planned that worked. And if your plan hasn't worked, at least you had a plan, and just keep going. There's still 3 game weeks. There's a double game week. Anything can happen.
Great stuff, fellas. So we'll move on to the next section of the show, which is, I've called it Stick or Twist, with poor performing doublers. So there's a lot of players who, they have double game week in 37, but they're not exactly tearing up trees at the moment. I've kind of lumped a few of them together. Mahrez, Willian, Ali, Son from Spurs, and then Kane and Lukaku up front. I'll come to you first, Rich, on this. What's your thinking on these players? Are they people that, are you basically reserving judgment, or are they people that you're kind of looking to maybe ditch? As much as they've double game weeks, they're not playing well enough to merit staying in for game week 36 for you?
Well, I do own a number of these players in Mahrez, Williams, Son and Kane. And I think this is a difficult question at this stage. And I don't have a definite answer, but in a way, more questions. Because when you look at all these players, you ask yourself, who's the most likely to play and not be rotated? And if you look back at the last double game week, you see that Mahrez, he played both games, 180 minutes. Willian only played 90. Son, 116. Ali, 83. And Kane, 174. So that's one factor to consider. And then you have to look at which players have the best fixtures. Not just in 37, but to the end of the season. And I would say Tottenham, in this order, would be Tottenham, United and Chelsea. So that'd be a factor going in the favour of the Tottenham players. And then the other thing is that although they haven't been in form, maybe next week in game week 36, some of them will show some form, and you'd say, you'd get rid of them in 36, but then they show form in 36. You say, I wish I had them for 37 because they've now started to play. Because Tottenham are at home to Watford and Chelsea away to Swansea, which are good fixtures. Then another question is that who are you going to replace these midfielders with? I guess everybody's looking at replacing them with City players. And then the other question is then, so what's Pep going to do with rotation? We've seen that at the weekend, Sane missed out. Fernandinho missed out. I think he was still banned. But let's see what happens in game week 36. Who does he play? Does Sane get his place back in the team? Does Sterling drop out? Does the other Silva drop out? So regarding all these players, I'm going to defer judgment until game week 37, when I'll have 2 transfers and I'll be able to make a more informed decision on which players to keep and which to ditch.
Yeah, I like it. One actually stat that I saw earlier on Twitter was that Leicester have only had 7 shots on target in the last 4 game weeks, and they've been quite favourable fixtures. So they're really just, they are on the beach syndrome, as we like to call it. That's what they do look like. Now, I know that Mars, I know you have Jamie Vardy up front, and I know you'll probably say that he's playing for his place on the plane for Russia in the summer. But are you happy enough with Vardy, and what's your thoughts on these other players?
Yeah, similar to Richard, I also have people like Ali, Son, Mahrez, Vardy, and of course the legend that is Marcus Rashford. Yeah, listen, I completely agree with what Richard said. You look at the fixtures, although I will add that Leicester also have good fixtures, West Ham at home and Arsenal at home. Yeah? I would see 2 open games there. West Ham probably have to go for it because they're not that safe, and Arsenal are just Arsenal. God knows what happens, what team turns up. So when it comes about looking at players like Mahrez and the midfielders mainly, I think I'm happy with Vardy. For me, Vardy, Kane, and one more, probably Jesus will be enough for me. I'm happy to go again with that Lukaku, as risky as it is. If I look at the midfielders, it's going to be a big decision. I want City players, of course, but like Richard said, we don't know what Pep is going to do. What we know, there will be rotation. My plan is about City playing their strongest team in the first game week for 37. So I'm hoping that the big players will play. Then it depends, who do I take out? Because I've got 3 Leicester and 3 Spurs. I can take one of each and have 2, so I can have more City players. And then I spread the love in the team rather than focusing on those 2 teams like I did in 34. And to be honest, the Leicester players didn't deliver that much, but Vardy scored, so I'm happy with him. The other main thing for me with those players, even though he's not listed, is Salah, whether you have him or not. The biggest decision I need to make is, do I bring him in for 36 or not? Because if I do, that's a transfer that I need to make on top of my transfers that I want to do for 37. And it really is going to be a last-minute decision. And that will decide then which, either, whether it's Ali, Son or Vardy that will go. And then if they go, it will be a City player that replaces them for 37. Salah for 36, and a City player will replace Salah for 37. So really, do I want to do one in, one out? Can I live with that Salah against Stoke at home, where he could do another Bournemouth? I can live without him against Chelsea, I think. So, and that's why I'm bringing Salah in, because I know there's a lot of people out there who either have him and are just thinking, do I ditch or not? And I know we'll discuss it later. But for me, people who don't have him, it's a decision whether you bring him in, because that will affect your transfers moving forward and who you take out.
Deserving of a segment all to themselves, of course. As you mentioned there, Salah and also Bobby Firmino. With the fixtures remaining, no double game week, and the golden boot likely in the bag, and the top 4 likely pretty much certain. I know Mars won't want me saying that, but it is. Is it time to actually look at selling Salah? We've got a ton of listener questions in, and I know that's the thing on everyone's mind. With 3 games to go, the Chelsea game, the Champions League semi-finals, like Salah being rested in at least one of them is quite a strong risk. Come to you first on it, Marzi. Would you be thinking that people can risk going without him? And who would you be looking at maybe as an alternative if people are going without Salah? Who would you be looking for of the big hitting midfielders to replace him? Or would it be a complete strategy change that you'd be looking at?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. It really depends on your position in mini leagues, if that's what you want. For example, I'm topping my mini league at the moment, but the guy who's chasing me has Salah. So this could be an easy decision for me. I need to protect my lead. If I do decide to bring him in, for example, if I look at the other fixtures, take out somebody like Mahrez, because Ali and Son have a better fixture at home. You'd think Spurs want to bounce back. Is Salah, the first question, is Salah worth it? Yes, absolutely. Is he going to play? We don't know. But I disagree at the fact that it's top 4 is secure for Liverpool. We still need 4 points. So he would not want to go against Chelsea having not beaten Stoke. And I think he will play the strongest team. But it all depends on what happens tomorrow night. Like I said before the City game, if we go in with a healthy lead against Rome and a clean sheet, then maybe he will put Salah on the bench. If we don't, then he might rest Salah. If we do, then he might play him. It's a really tough one, and I think, unfortunately, unfortunately, from a Liverpool point of view, there's team leagues, and the game is early. So if you want to hold on and see what happens if somebody releases the team before and find out if Salah's playing or not, then I think it's worth waiting for until the last minute to make that decision on Salah. With regards to Firmino, I haven't had him since game week 33. And I haven't looked back. If you have him now, the fact that he didn't play last game week, I think he'll play on Saturday. So you keep him, and then maybe make the substitutions before 37.
Tell us, Rich, do you have Salah in your non-free hit team? So will he be there for you in game week 36?
Yeah, he will. He'll be coming back in.
Yeah.
I thought long and hard about this one, and one hand I was thinking, I could keep him for game week 36 on the proviso that Anfield Express say that he's in the team on Friday night, and then look to change him in 37 for a City midfielder, probably Silva. Then I could upgrade Vardy to Jesus. But then I was thinking, well, if there's a rotation risk with Silva, he may not play, because I don't think I'd drop Salah for, say, a Tottenham player or Leicester player. It has to be a City midfielder that I'd be dropped for. And but then, like I said, the City midfielders, they're all at risk of being rotated, because we're not at this stage, we're not 100% sure about what Pep's going to do. And I think after game week 36, we'll have a better idea. So for me, I'll be keeping Salah, and I may want to keep him till the end of the season, because they've got a good fixture on the last day against Brighton. Who knows what's going to happen in that game?
Richard, do you think he's going to play? Do you think Pep will mess with us even more and just shuffle the team up for 36? And like I'm hoping, he plays his strongest team to receive the cup, the trophy.
I think he will play a strong team. I think Sane could get back into the team at the expense of maybe a Bernardo Silva or Sterling. Probably more likely Bernardo Silva. I think David Silva will continue to play, because he's had a lot of time off this season with his private issues. So he's got a lot of energy, I think. Kevin De Bruyne, he'll continue to play. And I think he may be taken off again in the next game, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, and then somebody else like Foden and Yaya Toure come on again. I think that might be a pattern that Pep will repeat in the next games, but just like to see for sure in game week 36 exactly what he does.
Yeah, because one thing actually with Gundogan is the one I have for. I went for kind of the bit of a budget option in midfield. It'd be interesting to see with Jesus missing the penalty, if it's a thing that he's on the field, will Gundogan get the penalty shouts from now on?
I think I don't think Jesus will take another penalty for City this season. I think Gundogan's on the pitch, he'll take them, and I've got a feeling that Gundogan will keep his place in the team, because Fernandinho should be back, I think, in game week 36, and it's whether he'll get his place back in the team, because Gundogan's the future. Fernandinho's been a brilliant player for City this season, and I've had him in my team with some success. But I think, well, he's 33 and he's not the future. So I've got a feeling that Gundogan will keep his place in the team. But again, that's something I'd like to see what Pep does in game week 36.
Sounds like Edison might take a penalty though. I don't know if you've been reading the news.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. But I think that the way they played at the weekend, they look like they still want to finish in a real flourish, because, of course, with like Man City's, with all the money that Man City have invested in the squad, the league is kind of the minimum, I guess, requirement. You know, the league cup and the league win. They'll be disappointed that they didn't go further in the Champions League. And so I think that they will actually want to finish the league with a flourish. But we did mention last week there was a few players that they'll want to get up in their appearances, you know, for the league winners medals. And the youngster, what's the name of the youngster, you know, that came on as a substitute? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him. I think he'll feature in every one of the games to the end, and even Yaya Toure as well. But a player who I actually I had a look at, but there was a little bit kind of too pricey, was Bernardo Silva. He's kind of eased in the second half of the season. He's looked very bright when I've seen him. We'll move on, Marzi. I'll come to you first on this. The defensive options. What teams, first of all, should we be relying on for defensive points in the run-in, and what players should we be relying on from those teams? What's your thoughts on this? I know I have double Burnley at the moment. They don't have a double game week 37. A lot of people are probably in the same boat. But what's your thoughts on the defensive makeup for our teams for this run-in?
Yeah, it's a tough one for defence. 34 didn't really give us many clean sheets. Obviously, Long was a hero, became a zero, but still, you know, did all right. One team I think that you can rely on is probably United, even though they've got 2 away games. I think if you have a defender or De Gea, you keep them there. I think it's one of those game weeks that you might be able to go with cheaper defenders. For example, you look at like Southampton, they've got Everton away, which is probably not the toughest game, and Swansea away. Then Swansea are another team that I would be looking at, because they also again have, they're far in, so they've got Southampton and Bournemouth, so 2 good games. You might obviously, so then City have got 2 home games. The problem with City is, like I said last time, I wouldn't go anywhere near the fullbacks. God, they've got so many fullbacks: Walker, Danilo, Mendy, Delph, the little kid that looks like De Bruyne. I would stay away from them. The one that I think will probably start at least one of the games is Kompany, because he's the captain. And then it will be probably Kompany plus one of the 3 if Stones is back. Then if I look around, Leicester they just can't keep clean sheets. Chelsea have got Huddersfield and Liverpool. Again, they haven't kept clean sheets, but Huddersfield should be a clean sheet. Alonso is going to be a headache. He's a headache for me. Do you keep him because he's fresh? He's too much money, so you can swap him for other players. And then the last team, 2 teams that I would look at as well, Arsenal and Spurs. They could potentially be fruitful. You need to be careful with Arsenal with regards to the Europa. I mean, Spurs, normally I don't look at their defenders, but with Newcastle at home and West Brom away, you would expect 1 clean sheet from those 2 games.
I think it's difficult to rely on defensive returns from any team. Clean sheets seems so hard to come by. But me personally, I've got 2 United defenders in De Gea and Smalling. Some cheap alternatives, maybe like some of the, I agree with Mars, the Swansea players. I'd be looking at Fernandes at 4.5 million Swansea. He'd be a good shot. Also Fabianski. He'd be a good differential. I think he's only owned by 8.8% as opposed to De Gea's 44.7%. So they'd be the players I'd be looking at.
Yeah, good stuff. Great stuff, fellas. A lot of good options there. And I think, the defence is something that people will probably have to fine-tune for this run-in to try to have as much good double game week players as possible, whilst trying to keep the costs down so we can, of course, afford our Salahs and our Kanes up front. But lads, let's move on to the game week 36 preview, where on our show we preview the games from the point of view of what games we like and which ones we don't like from an FPL point of view. We'll come to you first, Rich, on it. Looking at the fixtures, what ones are catching your eye from a positive point of view, perhaps defensively or in attack?
Liverpool, Stoke and Tottenham, Watford, because we've got 2 top 6 teams at home to potentially struggling teams in Stoke and Watford. But then there are a couple of other fixtures that may not register. And now it is Huddersfield, Everton. That's the next one. Huddersfield, they're on 35 points, and the fixtures after this are City, Chelsea, and Arsenal. So they're unlikely to get many points from those games. So I think they've got to focus on this game against Everton and to get 3 points to get them up to 38 points, which with another point, maybe a draw over those the last 3 games. I think 39 points could be enough to stay up. So Huddersfield, they're going to focus on this game. So then the other one then is Crystal Palace Leicester game. They're not as urgent as Huddersfield in getting a win this week, because they've got some easier fixtures to follow against Stoke and West Brom. But they too are on 35 points. So I think they could do with a win to relieve some of the pressure. So they're the 4 fixtures that I'm focusing on, or they stand out to me as being ones to focus on from an attacking point of view. Yeah,
I think there could be a good lot of attacking points in them games, all right. Marzi, what about yourself? What games are you keeping an eye on? And if you want to, you can give me your Barlow and Baldwin captain picks as well.
So the games that I'm liking are Liverpool Stoke from an attacking point of view for Liverpool. I mean, this could be if it turn up. I know Stoke, in fact, the fact that Stoke need to win or get something might even work in Liverpool's favour, to be honest, depending on what team he puts out. I really like Burnley-Brighton from many ways. Like, Burnley are good at home. As an owner of Burnley defenders at the moment, this could be clean sheet heaven. Palace-Leicester. I think Palace will go for the jugular again, and they've been playing well. Hopefully, if it opens up, then Leicester might deliver. And then the last one for me is Spurs-Watford on a Monday night. Spurs need to come back fighting. They're not safe either. I still think the fight is on between Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs. And as I have 3 Spurs players, attackers, from FPL point of view, I want them to smash it. For Liverpool point of view, I want them to lose. Barlow will be Kane or Salah. And my Baldwin, Goodmanson.
Goodmanson, not bad Munson, no.
No, he's not bad anymore. Although he was bad in the blank game week, but I forgive him because he delivered in the double game week.
Yeah. And Rich, how about yourself? Captain picks for game week 36. Who's likely to be your Barlow and who would be your Baldwin if you were feeling a bit frisky?
I think they're all a bit risky this week. Kane, his lack of form, and Salah, he may not play, so there's doubt about his starting place in the team. But I would pick Salah as the safe one because of his ownership. And then as a risky one, the Baldwin one, I'd probably go for Son at home to Watford.
Brilliant stuff, fellas. So we'll move on to the listener question section of the show. So, Marzi, coming to you first. Our friend Dave from Burnley, who, of course, was on our Getting to Know You podcast at the weekend, which went down a treat with the listeners, and everyone, of course, listened to that again. He was asking about Salah. Now, we've covered Salah off enough. He's wondering about whether he's going to start the next game, and then he's Chelsea away. He was talking about KDB and Silva are just playing for fun at the moment. So he's kind of, one thing he wanted to wonder is, can you unravel Pep's rotation plans for the rest of season? If you were taking a guess at it, I'll pose a little game to you here. If you were playing a guessing game of who Pep is going to play in midfield for the rest of the season, which midfielders, give me rank of who you think is most likely to play most minutes?
Sterling, Silva, KDB.
So you think that he's going to basically stick with the strongest lineup for most games, or do you think that because I know you were talking about earlier on the game when they're going to be receiving the trophy, but do you think, if you're looking at the games as a whole, what's your thinking?
I do think that those 3+ company will play the most out of everybody else. Most likely start most of the games, or in the case of people like come on but still do damage.
Cool. Thanks, Mars. Rich will move on to the next one, which is from Pask FBL, was asking who are the best cheap defenders for the double game week 37. Naughton from Swansea is my one, but who's your best cheap defenders that have a double?
I'd go for Swansea as well, with Fernandes at 4.5 million. Other 4.5 or lower, Stevens of Southampton. Morgan, 4.4 of Leicester, although the only clean sheet that Leicester kept recently was when Morgan was dropped to the bench, so maybe not him. But then Chilwell and again of Leicester, 4.4 million, and Dummett of Newcastle, 4.2 million, and in that order.
Yeah, if you were wildcarding or something for a double game week 37, you could, if somebody had a wildcard ship to play, you could see a total bargain basement defence for and even Fabianski in goal, and just go a total pound shop defence and load up on the attacking options. Thanks for that. Next up for you, Marzi, is the forwards, Kane or Aubameyang for game week 37, and that's from FPL 1882, John Smith Spurs. So I guess you're going to say Kane for this, but I'm hoping it'll be Aubameyang because he's the one I will own.
Yeah, for me it's Kane all the way. I mean, he can be off form, whatever. He's going to come back fighting. I hope, anyway, from FPL point of view. So Kane, great captaincy option for 36 and 2 juicy options for 37.
Yeah, I'm going to take the risk and not going with Kane for 37 at the moment. That's what I'm thinking, even though I always had planned on bringing him in. But at the moment I have Son and Ali. But we will see. We'll see if I'll make the move to bring Kane in. I think I'll be a nervous wreck, or anyone who doesn't have Kane for the double game week in 37 will be a nervous wreck. Because as you mentioned, he can definitely bang in for those doubles. Rich, next one up is from Mr. Walker Porter. He was asking, he needs some midfielders for game week 37. He's getting rid of the frauds, Son, Willian and Mahrez, and who should be on the radar. Now, I know you mentioned earlier on, we talked about those 3 players. He's talking about Arnie, City midfielders. Who would you be looking at as an alternative if you were getting rid of Son, Willian and Mahrez, which would be risky because you're getting rid of 3 double game weekers? But who would you be thinking other than Man City, who we covered off in plenty of detail, I think?
Well, I wouldn't consider anybody else other than the City, because I think you'd be going with either other Spurs players or Leicester. I don't know. Well, nobody else really at Leicester or Chelsea. So it would be the City, though. If I was taking anybody out, it would be the City players. Although he does have a good point about Arnautovic, who they play Leicester and United in the game week 37. So, and he's out of position, so he could be a possibility. But other than that, I wouldn't use a transfer for anybody else but the City players generally.
Yeah. Marzi, who is a better captain choice for 36 and triple captain for 37? So if you're going to stick on the same captain, he's asking Jesus, Sir Harold, or someone else. That's from FPL Prashant.
If you're going to go 36 and 37 at the moment, based on fixtures, I would say Kane. Let's see how he does in 36 and then make the decision. It's a long time. 2 weeks is a long time in football. Spurs are angry and they should come back and could come back fighting. I know people are saying Kane has been off and he hasn't touched the ball, but you know what? All he needs is 1 goal, 1 fluky goal to start with, and then they could come back rolling.
Yeah, and next question from him, and I'll stick with you, Mahrez, again on this. He's wondering about Mahrez for 36 or go for Eriksen. And then he's wondering about try getting in Vardy for 37 as Leicester cover.
We've heard a lot about Leicester being on the beach and Mahrez hasn't delivered. So is it bad taking him out for Eriksen, who's been on fire, and they've got Watford at home, who are on the beach? Maybe. It could be a good move. Definitely, if it's a free move, I wouldn't do it if it was a -4 because you just move in. I've always said don't move a double game week player for another. But in this case, there's so many options in midfield that some of us will be moving some double game week players to bring in City, for example. So I think Eriksen it could be a good move because you keep him also for double game week 37. And is Vardy enough cover for Leicester? Absolutely. He's probably their most consistent player.
Yeah, definitely. If I wanted anything from Leicester, it would be only Jamie Vardy, really. I think that's good. And one thing actually to bear in mind, as we mentioned, Eriksen, it was Ali who was rested recently, and it could be Eriksen that's the next man to be rested. As much as he is a little bit safer of an option, he seems to have Pochettino's trust a little bit more, and he seems to be willing to play him in every game. But it could be Eriksen's turn for a rest, and you would be kicking yourself if in game week 37 Eriksen was rested and Mahrez scored or did something like that. You wouldn't be happy with yourself. Next question is from Grifters United, John G, and this one is for you, Rich. To me, a differential must also outscore the higher owned or alternative. Otherwise, the low ownership means nothing at this stage. Can you see any viable alternatives to the top owned players in each position for the remaining game weeks? So looking at the top owned guys, is there any viable alternatives?
Well, looking down at each of the positions, like the goalkeeper, De Gea is the highest owned at 44.7%. I think, as I mentioned earlier, Fabianski at only 8.8% owned is a good option. They have Bournemouth and Southampton at home in 37, then Stoke at home in 38. For the defence, Otamendi's the highest owned at 26.9%. And then I'd stick with Swansea with Mawson. He's 5.1 million. He's 3.6% owned. Or if you want to go a bit cheaper, was Fernandes, 4.5 million. Then in the midfield, Salah is the most owned player in the game, 59.8%. I'd only look to move him on for a City midfielder. Silva, he's 12% owned, or Gundogan. He's 1.9% owned, and he's I'd say he's definitely on penalties now after Jesus' miss at the weekend. It's just a question whether Fernandinho gets his place back in the team. And then finally, the forward, Firmino's the most owned at 40%. I was thinking that maybe Lacazette at 6.7%. But Arsenal got Burnley and Leicester in 37, and then Huddersfield away in 38. So they'd be my viable options.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks a million, Rich. Agavanta was asking about Salah, so I think we've covered him off enough. But thanks a million for that question. And FPL Poland was asking about the players who are in bad form but have the double game week. So you got a good long answer for yourself earlier on there. Next one up is from Sabil at I am Sabil on Twitter. They asked, "Hey guys, what's up? Need some suggestions for my bench boost in game week 37. Mars, I'll give this one to you. It's a little bit of a difficult one, but what options would you be looking at for game week 37 that people might want to have? Swansea defenders or an obvious one that people could have on their bench because they're cheapest chips. They have a double game week. But who would you be looking at as having decent fixtures in game week 37 that people could look to load up on their bench for 37?
Well, just don't put the big players on your bench to make it look better. Absolutely hate that. Right. So, bench players. Swansea, we talked about them. You mentioned them. You've got defenders and midfielders. I mean, Key, King, Klukas, even Ayew, either of them. They could be worth it. You know, Swansea are playing good football and still fighting as well. I like Southampton. I think Southampton surprised a few in the earlier double game week. I know they only got a draw against Leicester, but they've got Everton and Swansea. The Southampton-Swansea game is going to be a 6-pointer. So if you're chasing, you want something different, why not go for someone like Tadic or Ward-Prowse or even Austin, for example, right? I've got Cedric and he probably will start just because I don't want to waste a transfer around defence. Other players that could go on the bench, to be honest, maybe Arnautovic, depending on if you have like 4 other good midfielders from West Ham, and that's pretty much it. To be honest, if we're talking just bench players,
that's not bad. I mean, there is actually when you go through them all and when you actually look at the player listing, there's actually decent value in kind of cheaper players who have done well and who have decent fixtures to round out the season. And as you mentioned there, you mentioned actually Charlie Austin, and I'll come to you on this one, Rich. It's the last listener question that comes from our friend Mahutsu. He was actually wondering, is Charlie worth a gamble for these last 3 game weeks? And he was also wondering about best replacements for Alonso, and you're not allowed to mention any Liverpool players when you're giving your recommendations.
He's a proven goal scorer as long as he gets the playing time. That's why I've avoided him. He's a little bit more expensive than, say, Barnes, who I've had in my team. But I wouldn't look to bring him in, to be honest. But that's the way I feel about it. I think Southampton, both the games are away, so I don't know whether they'll actually. I don't think they'll actually stay up. I think they'll probably go down, Southampton. So I'd probably stay away from Charlie Austin. A replacement for Alonso. I got this dilemma because I've got Alonso in my team. I've actually been looking at. I'd replace him with probably a Swansea player. So then I've got the money to upgrade somebody, possibly Vardy, to maybe Jesus. That's how I'd look. I'd look to go not to replace him with a like for like, but look to replace him with somebody much cheaper than him. So I've got the money to spend elsewhere.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because a lot of people, I know Mars, you sold Alonso before, and the amount of money actually you can spend elsewhere, because Alonso was so expensive that it did free up an awful lot of money for forward options.
Yeah, I have him now, right, because of the double game week. But when I look at options, it's easy to just absolutely downgrade him to a Swansea defender and have 3 million nearly to play with, which is, a lot of money.
It is a lot of moolah. That's all we got time for tonight on the Three Amigos FPL show. Thanks a million to this week's honorary amigo, Rich, who you should all follow at InfernoSix. Thanks to you, our lovely listeners, for listening, sharing and liking the podcast. And get following our group Twitter account at Three Amigos FPL, Mars at Mars05, Dale at FPL Chef, and myself, of course, at FPL Marple. Keep an eye out for another Getting to Know You episode next weekend. Last week it was Dave from Burnley, and next up we cross the Atlantic, so stay tuned for that one. Best of luck in game week 36. Booyah!
One for each other and all for one. The three brave amigos are we. Brother to brother and